We have, for generations, been a city that is committed to being a welcoming city, being a city where people can come here, find opportunity, find success, and thrive, and provide opportunity for their families. That's not going to stop because we have a new president that wants to harm our city. That's not going to stop because we have a governor or a legislature that wants to attack those values. And the city council just recently, near unanimously, passed a resolution recommitting, restating, and reestablishing our values as a city that is going to remain welcoming, even in the face of an attack. And so I say, bring it on, right? And to the extent that that might lead to a reaction by the state, we've had those conversations. The city council and the mayor and the city attorney, we're going to take that to court. I mean, we're going to continue to stand up for our values because that's what we do here in Madison. So that's the longer answer than yes, drop the mic.
Thank you. The question is, tell us your thoughts on whether Madison should or should not be a sanctuary city.
Thank you for that question. It's an emotional question, and it's not an easy one to answer right off the bat, not like my opponent here. There's pros and cons to everything. I do not want to see families broken up, and I support our Madison Police Department's stance in not being forceful in forcing families to their country, to wherever they're sending them. But I do not support us. The cost to the city could be enormous if the state cuts funding, the federal government cuts funding. We don't have the money to absorb that. And to stand again in the face of the law, and this is coming down from federal government, state government. Again, we're taking a chance there. Yes, it's nice and it's popular to do that in Madison, to fight back and stand for your values. But at what point do you say you can't do that anymore? I mean, what's it going to cost? And then I think the better alternative is to work with the governor. If you can work with the governor, work with the presidential commission, and try and find a solution that is meeting somewhere halfway. And that's just how I feel about it. And I've seen the marches that happen down in the Capitol. I heard about the resistance, and I know it's a very popular thing. But again, I'm practical, and I don't see us winning that battle. And so I would be against that for the most part, but open to work with the federal government and with the state to try and find some medium. And again, I'm not for deporting anybody, but working to find some medium. But to just stand and say, no, you're going to fight back and stand against it no matter what, I don't think that's a winning solution. I think you're going to waste a lot of money, a lot of time in that. Thank you.
Okay, our next question is about property taxes, the ever popular. People are building and remodeling old homes, which influences our taxes and is forcing out older people, maybe those with fixed incomes, forcing them out of the neighborhood, and they particularly mentioned Nakoma. Is there a way to limit this expansion so that we're not all on top of each other? We'll start with you, Steve, on this one.
Well, thank you for the question. That's a new one for me. I don't. Can you repeat that question?
Sure. People are building and remodeling old homes, which influences taxes, so perhaps raising the property taxes and forcing out people on fixed incomes. Is there any way to limit this expansion?
That sounds like businesses. That would be. I can't think of anything that. But there are. No, I can't think of anything.
Okay. I'll go to you, Maurice. So people are building and remodeling old homes, which is influencing, perhaps raising the taxes and forcing out people on fixed incomes in the neighborhood? Is there a way to limit this expansion?
So, part of why we see the cost of housing going up is because our community is growing in popularity, in population, faster than what we're doing to develop housing, right? And so, so often, the seller has the opportunity to be able to really set the market. And for that matter, the landlord has the opportunity to really set the market. And so one of the things that we need to continue to do is pursue opportunity, as I've described in the past, a really intentional approach to development to be able to accommodate growth at an appropriate pace. Sitting on the Community Development Block Grant Committee, that's a particular focus of mine, is to ensure that we're developing fast enough, but particularly developing affordable housing fast enough. That's a citywide view of it. At the community level, the question being about redevelopment in Nakoma, and I see a couple of my friends who I was telling their story earlier looking closely at me as I answered this. How do we continue to do that? So Nakoma, we'll talk specifically about Nakoma. Nakoma is a nationally historic district, which means that we're recognized at the national level, but that doesn't actually afford us much rights. That doesn't afford the neighborhood any particular control over how redevelopment continues to happen in the neighborhood. And so we've had conversations within the neighborhood about potentially pursuing a local historic designation, which would significantly change the ability for neighbors to control how development will continue to occur. And there will be some precedents and some particular expectations around that. That's, as anyone who lives in a historic district around the city will tell you, it's a blessing and a curse. There's pros and cons associated with that. But absolutely for exploring that as an option for our neighborhood. I live in the neighborhood. I live actually at a funny little intersection of Odana, Nakoma, and Monroe Street, which is technically part of Nakoma, but much smaller than many of the other houses. Which is fine. I love my little spot, and I that would impact me, and I would absolutely be willing to explore a local historic designation.
Steve wanted to talk.
Thank you. When I don't have a good answer, such as this case, the most important thing I do is I listen to you, and I work with the city council to find solutions. So I may not have a solution, but it doesn't mean I'm just going to throw my hands up and not listen to you. I'm going to hear you. I'm going to take your concerns to the council and answer your question, get you an answer. And that would be true of anything. If, I'm just one person. You don't want guns on buses, you tell me that, I hear you. I'm not going to be voting my way. I'm going to be voting your way. Thank you.
Keep going here because we've got a lot of questions rolling in, and following up on that question about housing. This one is about homelessness. How can the city work to decrease the number of homeless in our tight housing market, especially since we have more than 1,000 homeless children attending our public schools?
So I mentioned, so I appreciated Steve's comments earlier when he was talking about one of his answers bringing up emotion, right? These issues can get real for us. So when I was working in the schools, volunteering at Memorial and Jefferson, I had the opportunity to work with students that were coming into their first period class, and sometimes they had their backpack, and sometimes they didn't. There were all these sort of things that made me think, I wonder what their situation is, right? And then eventually I come to learn, when they're getting in trouble because they don't have their homework, the real life situation there is they left school the day before without knowing where they were going to sleep that night. Whether or not they were going to be at their parents' house, or their auntie's house, or nowhere, because no one was going to pick them up from school. And so the issue of homelessness, and particularly as it relates to homeless youth is a crisis in our community. That's an example of an area where we have a lot of room to be able to improve, to live up to our own expectations for what we ought to be doing. I mentioned that I serve on the Community Development Block Grant Committee. That's the committee that interacts with the federal funding to invest in affordable housing, invest in the housing first strategy of providing homes for homeless families and individuals. We even started having very ambitious conversations around that table about not just how do we continue to grow at a rate of growth, not just how do we continue to put up affordable housing at a rate of growth, but rather how do we put up 3,000 more units in the next 3 years, in the next 2 years, in the next 1 year? What's it going to take for us to catch up? Right? And the unfortunate reality, thanks Mary, pointing at the microphone. The unfortunate reality is that the federal government and this Congress has, every year, this is an active conversation that we're having in that committee is, I wonder if they're going to cut our federal funding for our community and make it harder for us to invest in affordable housing, to make it harder for us to make it so that homeless families will have a place to sleep. We're going to continue to fight for that. The City of Madison already has an outsized commitment to investing in that, and that's coming from our tax dollars. That's an example of our community investing in those populations. And the hard reality is we're going to continue to dig deep and work with the federal government on that.
So the question is, how can the city work to decrease the number of homeless in our tight housing market, especially since we have more than 1,000 homeless children attending our public schools?
Bo had touched on a couple of good points, and working with the federal government is certainly something that I would do also. Homelessness is a national crisis. It's happening in cities all across the country. Seattle has 10 cities underneath viaducts, and Chicago has 10 cities. We're starting to see tents building here. We've had some of that in the past. It's a serious problem, and it's also attached to problems like mental illness. A lot of our homeless are mentally ill. We don't invest enough money in helping those disadvantaged people. We need to do more. We need to work with the federal government, the state, and the city to find resources, find money to help give people what they need. We need to get them shelter. We need to get them off the street. We need to get them medications. It takes time. It takes working together to do it. It's not a simple fix. It's been going on for a while. It's a national crisis. It's going to take time to work through, and it's not getting better. It's getting worse, and we're seeing it in our streets right here in Madison. We have to think about that. We have to make some conscious choices. Do we want to pay higher taxes to build? What can we do to make more jobs, higher wages, more affordable jobs, more low-income housing? It'll take a combination of things over time, but it's a serious problem, and it needs to be dealt with. Thank you.
Response,
Just to be clear on the condition that we're seeing in Madison, we do have a significant problem with homelessness, but it is in fact getting better, not worse. We've been investing in a housing first strategy for the past several years. We are one of several cities that is committed to ending veterans homelessness, and have made a tremendous amount of progress on that. And we're going to continue to do that. We have hundreds of new units that are going to be opening in the next several years, but I just want you to take some hope that that's actually getting better.
All right, thank you. We are at the end of our hour already. We have so many more questions here, but we're nearly at 8 o'clock, so this is the time that we'd like to offer each of you 3 minutes for closing statements, and then perhaps we can mingle and talk, answer more questions if the candidates are willing. But we'll now take closing statements. I believe we're up Steve?
Yeah, I've already said it, so I don't want to repeat myself, but since I got 3 minutes, I don't want to waste the 3 minutes. Thank you very much. Thank you, everybody, for coming out tonight. Very important, my main mission is to listen to you. As Alder, that's what I'll do. I listen to all of you. I do it now with the Neighborhood Watch, and I can certainly do it for this District 10. And take your concerns to the council or help solve those problems, whatever they may be. The other thing is taxes. I want to fight for lower taxes. That means finding solutions to current problems being the emergency detention problem that's costing $60,000 a year, making our neighborhoods less safe because it's pulling about 300 officers off our streets every year to go to Oshkosh. And the other thing is public safety, working with our police, having a good relationship with our police, standing shoulder to shoulder with them in good and bad times, promoting trust in the community so the community feels that trust and goes to the police to help solve problems, keep our community safe. Those are my main three, and there's lots of side things that go with those, with every one of those, And the other thing, I don't know if we have the ability to do anything with the lead in the water. That's another new topic that came up in the schools. We can't accept any lead in the water at the schools, so that would be something that I would be looking into. And maybe more buses. I've heard that one of the topics that came up, more people want more buses. Sometimes the transfer points don't work, so they would like to maybe look for maybe alternative ways to get from point A to point B without going through a transfer point. And, how do you like cable, phone, internet, your electric and your gas? I don't know if we have that ability, but, those are concerns that come up. I know those are concerns I have. And if I had the ability to address those, I certainly would, because those are important. They attack our budgets and our lifestyle. But that's it. The main thing is I want to listen to you. You're going to be my boss. I'm not your boss. You're my boss. And I'll take your concerns. I'll listen to them. Even if I don't agree with you, I can still listen to you. If I got 10 people, 100 people telling me one thing, well, I'm not going to listen. Yeah. And right now I'm going to listen. I was told it's time. So thanks, everybody. Have a good night.
Thanks, Molly. Thank you guys again for being here. As I said earlier, it's rooms like this where we have the opportunity to really get invested in shaping the future of our community. And being engaged enough to spend a Wednesday evening for a couple hours in a church basement listening to a couple people who are frankly, odd enough to decide that they want to go knock on a few thousand people's doors, in my case, and talk to strangers, and eventually offer their nights and weekends serving you. You guys are amazing for doing that. Thank you for being here. One of the things that I really tried to keep in mind this past fall, winter, and January, and coming after the November election was we have a tremendous amount of agency here as community members to continue to have an impact on our own future. And I think it's really important to remember that. I think it's really important to remember that as you work together with your neighbors on the neighborhood association. I think it's really important to remember that as you think about how you want to volunteer your time on the weekend. And I think it's really important to remember that as you get ready to vote in the ballot box on April 4th, that you have a tremendous amount of opportunity, regardless of who the president is, who the governor is, your ability to contribute to shaping your local community is something that's never going to go away. And frankly, the truth of the matter is, for so much of what you experience in your daily life, it's your local elected officials, it's your city council, your county board, your school board, that's shaping your quality of life, right? And so what you want to do is make sure that your values are strongly represented at the local level. And eventually, hopefully, work together to make sure that those values are being defended when necessary and being pressed forward when possible. That was my message when I was honored with the opportunity to be invited to speak at the Women's March. You know, I certainly had no expectation that there was going to be 100,000 people there. But I showed up and I said the exact same message, which is, you know, we have a responsibility to ourselves and to our neighbors to work together, to defend our values, and to shape a community that's going to be worthy of the next generation. And so I thank you for the opportunity and the honor to serve you for the past 4 years. And I ask for your support on April 4th so I can continue to live out those values for the next 2 years. Thank you so much.